Leadership Forum, and we're happy that you have us. And today we're excited to have Pasha Carter, Andre Wells, Kenny Hamilton, and Mina Wright is my co-host here. And we know we were expecting Sheryl Ralph to join us today. Unfortunately, actress life, she's not going to be able to join us, but we will still have a great conversation. And we encourage you to, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Moesha is coming to Netflix. And, she was the mother, Dee, on that show. So we encourage you guys to check it out and look at Diva Simply Singing as well for some other things that she's going to be doing there. But we are going to have a great conversation here today. And we thank everyone for joining us.
And just to go over a couple of housekeeping items, we will be ending the webinar at 4 p.m. So at 3:45, we'll be taking Q&A from the audience. So if you have any questions while the webinar is going on that you want to direct to anyone in particular, please hit the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and put your questions there, and then we'll be taking those around 3:45. So I do want to welcome, I'll start with Kenny Hamilton. Kenny.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You can,
I have to get my bio, sorry. I thought you were gonna say something else. Well, thank you, William and Mina. I appreciate you having me on. My name is Kenny Hamilton. I am a entertainment manager, focusing in music, also dabbling in hospitality a little bit. I live in Los Angeles, California, originally born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been in California now almost 10 years. I'm here to run my mouth. I like to talk sometimes. So.
He's downplaying his accomplishments, though. But we'll learn a little bit about him.
No, for sure. I've been in the business 16 years now, from when I first started, and I've been on a really great journey. I own my own management company, CSH Management Group. The CSH is not short for cash; is actually my son's initials. Because everything I build for, the future and the family to give him a foundation. So that's been the vision for everything that I've set forth.
Love that. Great.
And then next we have Pasha Carter. Pasha, if you could tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Pasha Carter. I actually am an entrepreneur. I'm on the Forbes expert panel where I contribute to Forbes magazine as well as Medium and Thrive Global. I'm in the process of launching my own magazine, and I started out as an entrepreneur at 23 years old. And I'm best known, I guess, for taking a $500 investment and turning it into a multi-million-dollar business in my 20s. And in my 20s, I got started in business and started to really understand the concept of being able to do everything digitally and online, and being able to build a business literally from my phone. And so now, since then, I've traveled the world and really teaching people how to monetize their brands, how to build a business online, and most importantly, how to capitalize on the digital world.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And then we also have Andre Wells with us today. And Andre, if you can give us a brief bio about who you are and what you do as well. You're on mute.
Unmute yourself, Andre. Andre, unmute.
Hello, everyone. Hello, LA. William and Mina, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Andre Wells here. I have an event design and planning firm based in Washington, D.C. We've worked throughout the United States and abroad. The firm is 17 years old this past April. So we produce large-scale events, corporate, political, social, and then we do, weddings. We do weddings also. And the event firm specializes in high-touch clients. Love what we do. I'm not gonna list all of the things that we've done, but I'm very excited about the conversation here today.
Awesome. We're glad to have all of you guys. Thank you guys for all being here with us today. And then I'm Mina Wright. I am the CEO of Wright Productions, also co-founder of The Black Table. And then we have William P. Miller.
That's all right. You can laugh at me. We kind of had a little show before the show.
Right. We have William P. Miller, who is also one of the co-founders of The Black Table. See, Kenny done got me all tongue-tied.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so thanks, Mina. And so we just want to tell you about a little bit about the Black Table. The Black Table is a collective organization of event professionals, and our purpose is to elevate the presence and positioning of event professionals worldwide. We've been in existence for over a year, and our momentum is growing, and we encourage you guys to join the movement. Follow us at the Black Table _. And so in the special events industry, we're just gonna sort of dive right into something that happened yesterday as well as today, and Andre was involved. As we all know, that just a little bit of a background is that, you know, we're going through COVID. And in the event industry, we, you know, plan sporting events, we plan galas, we plan conferences, conventions, weddings, all type of social events that people travel to. And one of the things that happened when COVID came about is that the travel airlines were bailed out by the government. Unfortunately, the event industry, you know, didn't receive any benefits. We've been overlooked, although we hire so many people, so many jobs were affected. And a big part of that was because we operate independently, and unfortunately, we're not necessarily a community until now. So, and we're starting to see some change and some coalitions being organized. We want African Americans to really get involved in these coalitions because we're not really represented. So Andre, can you tell us a little about the event that took place yesterday and some of the things that you're seeing happening in the event industry?
Sure. So here in Washington, actually, it was the brainchild of another event planner. His name is Roger White. He called about 7 of us who have businesses that are based here in Washington, D.C. And he said, you know, it's tough times right now, and we all need to bond together and really kind of, you know, see what each other are up to and go into. So that's kind of how it started, just kind of as a support group. And then once we were about 3 weeks into this thing, COVID that is, and it seemed like it wasn't moving, we were like, we really have to think about how we're going to navigate this industry and what we're going to do. So we kept talking, and then we started helping each other, and then we started reaching out to other people in the events industry, hoteliers, catering companies, venues, AV sound and lighting companies, other producers and designers, and food service organizations, the convention center. So now we're a group of about 1,000. And we do a call every Tuesday, and we just update each other. We've been a resource. We've been helping each other with resources from loans and grants, and the status of certain businesses and how we could help, and how people were pivoting. And then we had all of the social justice and Black Lives Matter unrest. So then we were hit with something else. And then we decided, you know what? Our industry is racially divided. It's not a lot of Black event producers and people in special events don't get the same opportunities. So then a whole nother conversation started happening. And so I said, we can't rush this. This needs to be a conversation that we have over a period of time. And if that's a year, 2 years, 3 years, we have to continue to talk about it, but not only talk about it, we have to act on it. So then there was a live entertainment coalition formed. And that's from producers of concerts, parades, everything. Anytime you go to an event or think about events, it includes all of these people, from these other industries? Well, we looked around, and the events industry also can be kind of a gig economy. You know, a lot of people are 1099. We have seasonal employees. Sometimes we have different seasons that work is high and sometimes it's low. So a lot of people weren't qualifying for some of the grants and loans and the unemployment. So it was a lot and it's been a lot to maneuver and manage. So that's really kind of the job of the coalition. What we've done over the last week, and at the event that William was talking about, that was today and last night, we did this event on the National Mall called the Empty Event. Basically, we set up about 48 tables that represents 250,000 people that are out of work in our community, and represents 12 million people, you know, nationwide. And we wanted to make a statement. You know what they say, I can show you better than I can tell you. So on the National Mall, we did a beautiful all-out event with a stage, lights, and video, tables, chairs, restrooms. We had, you know, there was no restroom attendant because they can't work. So we wanted to stress to Congress and Senate, listen, we can't work. You know, we can't get paid. People have families to support. People have fleets of trucks and warehouses. You know, we need help. So what we're doing is, in essence, lobbying for support. And that's how that kind of started. We did one yesterday and today, and then on Saturday, I think New York did one, and then Texas did one. So we're encouraging all of the states to form these coalitions and let your local politicians and the national ones know we need their help. We need legislation. We need to be included. And that's kind of how that started, and that's what we've been doing.
Right. Andre, can you talk about the hashtags that are being used, and they're encouraging event professionals to create a message with the attached hashtags?
Yeah, so we did this whole, and we've been working with this great firm, and it's called Wish I Was There, hashtag Wish I Was There. Well, and we'll do a red screen, and then we'll do a black and white screen. The first screen is, the red screen may be, oh, while you miss weddings, and the black and white screen, next screen may say, we miss our paychecks. The next screen may say, while you miss meetings, in-person meetings, we miss healthcare. So just to let people know how it really affects, because so much of what we do is behind the scenes. People don't see the person that's setting up the tables and chairs and vacuuming the ballroom, or setting up the AV and sound. They only see kind of the end product. But we needed people to see. That's why hashtag Wish I Was There, hashtag Save Live Events, hashtag Save Events. So all of these hashtags, and I'm happy for you all to go to a DC Events Coalition website and the Live Events Coalition website. I don't know if you can, I'll type it over in the
We'll get that
chat section. So you'll have, and the hashtags as well, so you'll know where to go with that.
That's actually awesome, Andre, because we need that. And you know, our topic today is like reinventing yourself for success. And that's a great start for our industry of reinventing, basically working independently and coming together as a community, because we're stronger, you know, united than we are divided.
Right, and what do they say? Closed mouths don't get fed. You have to be able to lobby for yourself. And, you know, having, you know, as a benefit of living in Washington, I'm around so many lobbyists and so many people, and that's what we have to do. We have to lobby for ourselves. We have to bring attention. Our industry, we make so many people happy, and life starts with an event, from the birth of a baby to the end of your life. It's all about special events, and you know, we have to remember the people that keep the world moving.
Right. You're absolutely right. That's great. Kenny, did you have any, or Pasha, you have anything to chime in on that?
Oh, please, Pasha, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, I didn't have too much. We were speaking earlier. I was just saying from the touring industry aspect of it, from a music standpoint. There are like Live Nation was one of the first companies that started a fund for the touring personnel. Like, a lot of times when you go to a concert, you don't understand that, a load in for a show, especially a big show at an arena, per se, they might have 120 employees that are moving on that tour. Everyone from the truck drivers to the riggers to the electricians to the pyrotechnicians, the sound engineers, and this is outside of what's considered the A party of just the artists and their crew, right? And so these people I know many people who literally live on the road. They hop from tour to tour. It might be The Weeknd, it might be Tim McGraw, it might be different genres. It doesn't matter because these people all do that same job of stage building and things of that nature. So there hasn't been any government in help with that, as well as, with the events. And, events is a broad spectrum of different things. And, concerts are also events, right? Live events. And there hasn't, what Andre was saying is completely right. So it's great that he's on the ground in DC with a lot of other people that are, hopefully being able to get that message out. As, the Grammy Foundation started through their Music Cares, they've been, donating to other folks that I've done some stuff with some of my artists with in the past few months during the COVID crisis and this pandemic. So it's it's really it's a tough time right now for everyone, but I think we just keep pushing through.
Right, great. So Pasha, you as you said, you coach entrepreneurs, and you've been an entrepreneur for several years, lots of success, and you sort of slipped in. You took $500 and created a multi-million-dollar company. So you can sort of slip that in. But in the time of, when we talk about reinventing yourself, where do we start in terms of when do we know it's time to reinvent yourself? Or what should we be looking for of cues that it might be time to do different? Is it that you're tired, you're not motivated, or, what clues as individuals that we should look for when it might be time to do so? And what tips could you give, or have you given to people of what actions that they could take?
Well, one thing that I've learned and that I embrace is constant change. The one thing that I say is always constant is change. And so when it comes to reinventing yourself, when do you know that's important? All the time. And the one thing that I will say is anytime the biggest opportunities happen when there's a downturn. So right now, with the economy being where it is, with times being where they are, there's so much opportunity out there. And there are going to be two types of people. They're going to be the people that, treat this like a cocoon, and they're going to come out a butterfly, and they're going to understand that it's going to take pain. It's going to take growth. You can either panic or pivot. And those are the choices that we have. And some people are panicking and some people are pivoting. And I'm around all of, everything in between. And so one of the things that I've learned is in a time like this, going from physical to digital and understanding how does that work in your space, whatever your space is, how do you take whatever your craft is and figure out how you can monetize it in a different way. I always tell people, if you can figure out what your skill and talent is, and find multiple ways to monetize whatever that skill is. And sometimes people find that hard, like, well, this is what I do. And in order for me to do this, I've been doing it this way for so many years. Well, when times change and things change, then we're forced to either change with the time or we get left behind.
Right.
And so I was teaching and coaching a young lady who travels with speakers, and that's what she does. So when we speak, I go out, and that's what I've done all my life. I get on the road and I speak to, conventions filled with people and on entrepreneurship, leadership, and things like that. So when COVID hit, a lot of speakers, many of them panicked. But there were many of us that decided to pivot. So this young lady that I was talking to, she's the one that when we go as a speaker, she shows up and her staff handles everything. When you walk in, your tables are set up, your booth is set up in the back. She handles everything for the speaker. So all we have to do is focus on speaking. So she called me and she was just so down and out. And I said, listen, do you realize that right now you realize what an opportunity you have? because every speaker is trying to figure out how to go digital with their message and monetize it. If you can take exactly what you've done for all of us for the past several years, and now you flip it and you start to hire people who can help people understand, how do you do a Zoom call? How do you monetize a Zoom call? How do you get your audience on to make it feel like it's live? How do you now do all of the things that most of these people like myself and many other speakers that were in the speaker arena, they were still trying to figure this out. And I said, and if you can now shift, and don't worry about what happened, but shift right now and take that same message you have and make it digital, you can literally 10x your income. And so she started doing that. And lo and behold, she started reaching out to people to show people, how do you create a funnel to be able to get to attract masses to an online meeting versus a physical meeting. And so now that's what she's doing. But what happened is, in the beginning, she was so down, but she realized that just like all of us, you either are going to panic or you're going to pivot. And that's going to determine where you are in the next 5 or 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah, those are some really amazing points, Pasha. We actually had the same type of situation where, you know, we had a choice to either panic or pivot, you know, with essentially our business not existing after COVID. And we decided to pivot to providing rest lounges for hospital workers, for first responders. So it was like, let's take our skill and do something that we can, you know, still monetize, but we're also doing good, and we're answering a need that, you know, needed to be filled and still needs to be filled with, you know, cases going up. Penny, this actually is a good opportunity, I think, where you can kind of talk through, you've worn like many hats, from being a radio personality to going into music marketing to now having your own firm where you're managing artists and you're in the hospitality industry, but you're also a social media influencer. And you have, like, you know, over 900,000 followers on Instagram and over 1 million followers on Twitter. Can you talk through like how people can use this time right now to reinvent themselves to Pasha's point, in the digital space, you know, using social media, and like what tools did you use to be able to reinvent yourself in the multiple ways that you have over the course of your career?
There's a few different things. One is, you know, before social media became what it was, I think we had first joined Twitter. When I say we, have some friends of mine, in 2008, before Twitter was a thing. And, you know, my social media following, I'm in a unique situation because early on when I first started, you know, like, I was a radio personality, but at the same time, I was working at T-Mobile during the day, right? When I was in the military after I dropped out of college and went into the Navy. And then when I got out the Navy, I moved back to Atlanta. And when I got out, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a career in the music industry. I wanted to be an exec. I was, you know, motivated by a few things. Early on, I'll kind of back up a little bit. I actually went to school to be a sports agent. Like Jerry Maguire, the film changed my life. I saw that because growing up in the east side of Atlanta, there were a lot of things that you didn't necessarily see, especially growing up in Black neighborhoods, right? Like, we know athletes and we know like rich people. There was, you know, I would watch the lifestyles of the rich and famous with Robin Leach, but there was no in between. You didn't know like how did they get here? Who helped them? Any jobs and things like that. And those are things that you just really didn't think about. So when I went to college, like I said, I dropped out, ended up going into the Navy, and then September 11th happened and we were in the war for a while. And so when we got out, I moved back to Atlanta early 2004, but I knew what I wanted to do. I'd read a book that Kevin Liles wrote called Making It Happen. And he described his journey of wanting an internship, and before he really got in with Russell Simmons and those guys and, you know, the Leo Cohens and that whole New York movement. And, you know, Kevin being from Baltimore, how he just kind of hustled and did whatever he could. And that was always in the back of my mind. In college, my freshman year, I had a radio show because I went to a predominantly white school in Nashville, Lipscomb University, and all I heard was like country music and all this other stuff. So I was like, I want to play my music. Obviously I couldn't play like hip hop and, you know, Master P, No Limit stuff. This is 99, 2000. But I played R&B stuff, you know, but I had fun doing it. And I was like, oh, I could kind of get used to doing this. And so fast forward, when I get back to Atlanta, I'm trying to figure out, how do I get into business? How do I meet people? And I saw at one club, every radio station in the city, the hip hop stations and the pop stations all did a live broadcast from this club called Vision. And so I was like, well, if I get there, maybe I can meet somebody. So what I did was I got a job at a security company that did the security for that club. And that's how I started meeting people. So I met the folks at the radio stations in Atlanta, and I said, all right, let me figure this out, how I can get an internship. So I called, the big hip hop station, which was V103 there, had to be in school, so I couldn't go there. The other station, Hot 107, they never called me back. And the pop station Q100, they were like, sure, come on in. So I came in, and I was brought on as a promotion intern. I had to do 3 events a week to maintain my internship. And at the same time, I ended up getting a job at T-Mobile to just help, save some money and be able to pay, what bills I had. But with that internship, I did 5, 6, 7 events a week. And I made sure that everyone in that building knew my name, knew my face. I tried to go over and beyond. If there was the littlest thing that needed to be done, I was going to volunteer to do it. Because I knew that I thought in my head, and this was my plan, that if I can get a job in radio, I'll have something on my resume to add as an experience with music to be able to take to a label or to any other situation. Not knowing that, 6 months later, I got hired and I was hosting our Saturday night mix show before the live broadcast at Vision now. So everything's coming back full circle, because now I'm going in as one of the hosts and with the night jock that I was with, and we were hosting a Saturday night party that I was once a security guard at. And so just through that, and that helped me transition because, and I'm gonna get to the social media part, but that helped me transition because the night jock that was there, Jeff Miles, who I'm still very close to this day, he gave me an opportunity to be an intern on his show. So now I'm talking on the radio. I'm not getting paid yet, but I'm talking on the radio 5 nights a week, and then I'm getting paid to host the Saturday night show. So now I'm becoming I'm meeting a lot of the DJs, a lot of the guys that now, like DJ Drama, Cannon, a lot of people were just still coming up. We all kind of came up together. And throughout that time, the jock that I was with, Jeff Miles, he was friends with Jermaine Dupri. And Jermaine came up to the station one day and brought, 5 or 6 people that all worked for So Def at the time. And they all came up into the station. And what do? Hey, I'm Kenny, introducing myself, meeting everybody. And that's when I met my now best friend, Scooter Braun, who was head of marketing at So Def then. And, I was found out who the marketing person and the street team guy was, which is this guy, Mel Testamark. And I said, hey, you guys need any interns, or can I come by the office to just kind of see how the operation goes? And he was like, sure. And so then I started interning at So Def about a week later. And so I'm interning at the radio station at So Def, and I'm working at T-Mobile during the day. This is, when the Sidekicks and the Blackberries and everything were out. And that's really how I started getting in, because I was willing to do anything and everything to just pivot. If I need to go over here, we were climbing telephone poles, putting up posters, when records were coming out. At this time, it was I don't know if you guys remember, that was a song, Oh, I Think They Like Me, with JD, Da Brat, Bow Wow. That was the first record I worked. And this is when we still printing CDs. Right. And through this time, Scooter and I started, hanging out. He had just dropped out of Emory, but he had been, somewhat successful in music at this point, and he was managing a rap group. And I was like, I really want to kind of help, whatever I can with this group from the Southwest side of Atlanta. So I started working with him with that. And that's how we started having a working relationship outside of just, being friends and hanging out, and being able to see and go and I would go into the hood and get 1,000 CDs printed up, and we're going to every club in the city. Atlanta is a strip club culture, and people, you probably all saw the whole Lou Williams situation when he went and got wings from Magic City, but that's a part of our culture. If I go hang out and get a drink, I'm going to Magic or somewhere else. And that's just kind of the culture of Atlanta. But what's not talked about is records break in strip clubs in Atlanta before they hit the radio. You got to break in a strip club before you break in a regular club, because so many artists, so many people come through. So I would make friends with some of the strippers, because when they had their sets on the big nights, they playing my records. So
got it.
And that was a whole thing, because if the clubs aren't playing your records, then the radio is not playing your records in Atlanta. And Atlanta has been the mecca of urban music for God knows how long now, since the days of Outkast. And so, throughout my relationship with Scooter, I got into more artist management. I left T-Mobile, was at CarMax selling cars. I always kept some type of job to be able to pay.
Just reinventing yourself.
Yeah, and as Scooter said, he said ever since he's known me, I've always had 6 jobs. So, you know, it was just like whatever I could do to, you know, to keep the momentum going, or to just learn. Like if I had to go climb a pole and do this, or run over here and do this, there were many nights where, you know, I stayed in this little roach infested apartment in Buckhead called the Darlington. It was $500 a month. And literally, like, I would get out the car in the back parking lot. There would be, you know, crack vials in the parking lot, and needles, and just, you know, it was just really bad. But I didn't care because I was in the city. You know, I would be, you know, running around clubs at night. I would go back to my place, shower, put my uniform on, drive to, you know, the store where I had to work the next morning at 8 a.m., sleep in the car for an hour, open the store, keep going. Like, we were just doing that because I saw something bigger for myself. And I didn't know how it was going to be, but I saw it, right? And so the social media part started coming in, because back then it was just MySpace. And Scooter found this one artist from Canada, and he was, you know, could sing really well. And I was like, man, this dude is incredible. And, you know, he sent me this video, and I remember I put this video on my MySpace page, and it was a 12-year-old Justin Bieber singing Stevie Wonder Someday at Christmas. And everyone used to tell me like, oh, that little white boy, like, you know, he can't see, you know, oh, it's cool. Oh, cool. Okay. But now it's everybody is like, oh man, I remember when y'all was doing this and doing that. And, you know, Justin was the first person that we really saw the power of social media, because on Twitter, as he started getting bigger, he had fan pages. He was the first artist that really had fan pages on social media. And we saw that there were kids in Brazil and Europe that was loving his YouTube videos. And now obviously everybody's on YouTube, right? Everyone's doing covers and, you know, things of that nature. And this is all where it really came from. And we started then. And so, you know, we call it the Bieber effect, which is why my social media got so big, because these kids follow anything attached to him. And as Justin grew, I first came on, it's a funny story as far as, you know, pivoting, as Pasha was saying earlier, because I always wanted to be a road manager, you know, and just jump in and go for it. And Scooter had signed this one artist, Asher Roth, that we had a lot of success with. I asked him, I said, hey, I want to be a road manager, but he already had 2 friends of his that he wanted to work with him. So I just helped wherever I could get our singles out to the DJs. You know, we were doing mixtapes and things like that, because I was building a network. I would always try to have one piece of something to help me in the next level, right? So it's radio. Now I know how program directors think. I know what music directors do. So when I'm managing artists now, I already know who not to waste time with. I know exactly who to go to. I know exactly what we need to do. But Scooter called me one day, and he asked me to come over to his place in Buckhead. And he was like, yo, we got to find a security person for Justin. And I was like, okay, because he was 14, 15 at the time. We had just started working his first single, but he had got tackled. He was like 4'10", and he got tackled by an overzealous fan who was just running. This girl was just running to hug him. And she was just tall. She was taller than he was at the time, right? And I was like, yeah, I know plenty of guys. I know, you know, I started naming folks. I was like, you know, you want me to call him? He's like, no, I want you to do it. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be a road manager. And, you know, at the time, it was our buddy Ryan who had worked with Usher, but Usher fired him from being his assistant. But Usher was like, yo, he's a great guy. He's just not fit to be my assistant. So he was like, let's put him with Justin. So he was taking Justin to his, you know, his studio sessions and things like that early on. And, you know, the way Scooter had broke it down to me was like, look, he was like, we have something special here. I see what it can be, but I want to keep our team very close, and I want to keep it with people that we can trust. Because in our business, if you have an artist that's taking off like that, I mean, you got every top manager at that time in the world that was trying to take him from him, right? They were trying to come in and poach him. You know, I think we all have been in a business or industry where another company comes and tries to poach business from you at that time. And that happened to us when Justin was first starting out. So
I was going to say that's kind of something that we experience as well in the special event industry. And as a result, it seems like you and Scooter has developed a relationship, and you almost have come together to make a goal. But there's a couple of things I heard that you said. One is that you made sure that everyone knew who you were, and which means that you made yourself approachable.
Right.
And then you also said that you did anything that needed to be done. And you also said that it was not always for pay. And
Right.
in our industry, and I'm gonna pivot a little bit to Andre on this here, because we know that a lot of people come into the special events and they want to be planners or whatever, they want to be paid, but yet they haven't, done the work or they haven't done the experience. They're not really, especially the newer generation, they're not really trying to learn or be of service to someone. And then, so in Andre, I'm sure, can you talk a little bit about the importance of people paying their dues, but more importantly, one of the things he said, like in our industry, we've sort of operated like crabs in a barrel, but the importance of community over competition.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jenny, that's quite a story, man. I love hearing your come up.
Yes.
It's great. It's very inspiring too,
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of people that want to be Kenny, but they don't want to go through Kenny's life experience, which have contributed to where he is now, right?
Right.
And so that's what happens in our industry. I always live by, right? To whom much is given, much is required. Right. So I've been blessed to have, I've had my company now for 17 years. So there are high moments and low moments, I tell people. But one of the things that I know that I'm supposed to do is help people. So I try, and I do, and I've helped a lot of people. And then there's times and moments when you have to help yourself, right? And you have to be able to do those things. But I think as a community, of people in general, I don't think sometimes we use our resources, or we are, and I'm including myself in this as well, we're afraid to ask people, but that's what we should. And we have such a talent pool of African-American event professionals, from caterers and florists to builders, everything. And I think we have to do a better job of letting people know who we are. And I like when Kenny said he let people know who he was. You have to tell people, and that's what you do. You have to sell yourself. If you can't sell yourself, then hey, I would tell, I have a small business. I didn't expect people to work for me for long periods, because I'm not going to offer them a stake in the company or whatever. So people like, you're not afraid of them poaching your business, or I was like, well, you know what? If that client wants to go with them, they can go with them. I believe in myself and who I am and what I have to offer, and my skill set and my talent. But I would like, going forward, for us as a community to be able to help each other, to be able to support each other, and to be able to say, hey, I know my friend, and William and I have done it for a long time. I'll call and ask him about a client. What do you think about this? He'll call and ask me, or an opportunity like, hey, William, I think this opportunity is coming up in your city. You should go after it. And he does the same. And I think we have to do more of that. And engage, we have a lot of talented athletes and entertainers, and sometimes their agents and otherwise, they send them to other people, but we got to get to them and let them know who we are and what we can do and the services that we offer. And here we do just, because sometimes it's just about not having an opportunity, or the right, quote unquote, the right person not knowing who you are. But I think as a community, if we pull together, we could help each other. And as much as I would love to do every event that happens, from the Grammys to inauguration, I know I can't do it by myself. So I need a community. I want to be able to have a community,
Right.
To help.
Right.
What good is it for you to come up by yourself doing whatever, and the community, they can't be a part of it.
Could I kind of add and pivot a little bit to that as well? Because there are, like, people used to be confused back in the day, and it was like, oh, they thought Scooter and I were partners. No, that was his vision, but I was willing to do anything to help his vision, because I believed in that vision. And I also knew that I needed more experience, and I'm learning as well. So if I needed to be the security person, but I still made it known, hey, I want to get to this point. And so he helped me get to this point, because eventually, by the time Justin turned 18, I was running his touring, running you know, his day-to-day under Scooter and Allison, who is his partner, who runs his company. So anything that those two needed done, I was making sure it got done, and I was okay with that. I think a lot of times in today, and like I hate saying the younger generation, like I'll be 40 next year, but I feel like I'm 28. but I feel like there is a energy among younger people that everybody wants to start and be the CEO. And it's okay to be the vice president and be a great vice president. It's okay to be a great operations director and running this. Like, it's okay to be in a position and focus in that and be great in it. I understand that we all want to be rich. We all want to have, you know, the biggest houses on the block and things like that. But I feel like there has to be a realistic expectation of where you are now. Focus on that, make it great, and build on that greatness in that time. Because, you know, a lot of times, and I think we all kind of fall into this. I know I did at times, but, you know, you look at someone else that might be your age, and you're like, damn, bro, they're doing this and I'm only over here. But it's like, no, you have to learn gratitude and to be grateful in what you've gotten to this point, because you might be the Morgan Freeman and not have a career until you're 50, you know, like really blow up until you're, you know, later on in life, whereas some people got their wealth, you know, early on. But it's really important to be happy and find that gratitude within yourself and where you are now, and to not count one, you know, we say in the hip hop, and it's just like, don't count other people's pockets, you know, don't worry about what they're doing and focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you do and stay consistent at that.
And Pasha, oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, Kenny, you hit so many valid points, because one of the things that I think a lot of people have to understand is, and you said it so eloquently, is learning every role. Like, I think a lot of times when people show up, like even in my field, it's like one of those things where you want to master whatever your craft is. But if you master everything around you and you understand how every aspect of your business works, you're never out of business, because you know and understand all of the layers, and then you figure out how to monetize all those layers. So that's one of the things that you hit that I think is so important, because I think we're in a society where it's more of a microwave mentality. Everybody wants to have success and they want it like right now, because, you know, a lot of times on, you know, Facebook and Instagram, you see the end result. So everybody has the great lifestyle. Everybody's driving the car. So you're thinking in your mind, especially the younger generation, is that's what I want and I want it right now. But are they willing to put in the work to be able to do that? And the other thing is having that abundance mentality. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things that we as a people have to have, is the abundance mentality versus having a scarcity mentality where we feel like, what's mine is mine. One of the things that I've learned in business is I want to be a vessel. Every door that I open is a pathway for somebody to walk through. Every tree that I've knocked down, every road that I've been on, and it's been hard. You know, I tell people the entrepreneur journey is not for the weak. And if you don't have strength, if you're not able to bounce back, if you're not able to fall on your back and get back up, you know, you're not designed and cut out to be an entrepreneur, because it will teach you what pain is. And so for me, it's all about, okay, every door that I open, it's like, how long can I keep this door open? And how many of my people can I allow to walk through this door? Because my forefathers, what they went through for us to be able to have the opportunity that we have, you know, I look at my job and my duty and my responsibility is leaving this world better for the next generation and the next generation. So I love the stuff that you said, Kenny, because it's so important, us having the work ethic, us having the abundance mentality, and being able to open up those doors for everybody that's willing and ready to put in the work.
I'm sorry, can I just ask you, so Pasha, where do you draw to keep the positive attitude? Because, you know, it's right now, you know, it's a little tough. I mean, people dying, you can't go see them, people sick, we scared to touch, we're afraid to call. It's tough to maintain a positive attitude. And Kenny, you know, Pasha's from Atlanta. She was on the Falcon field for a number of years. So
you doing a dirty bird.
You better believe it.
But how do you pat your own self on the back? Like, I like to listen to Donald Lawrence song. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself, and that's really needed. But it'd be interesting to hear that.
Well, in the beginning of my business, the first thing that I did, and I do it every single day, I mastered my mindset. That is the biggest challenge that most people have, not just in business, but in life. They may master their business, but if you don't master your mindset, then your business is only temporary, because your business is going to change. And if your mind doesn't grow, and if you think that, I always tell people, you can't make new money with the same old mindset. So for me, every single day that I wake up, it's like, okay, what am I programming my mind with? What am I listening to? How am I growing? What did I learn today? And so if I'm not learning something new, if I'm not growing every single day, then I'm dying. And we've got to realize that our mind is like a garden. And if we listen to a bunch of negativity, it's just weeds. And all these weeds are starting to grow in your garden. And we know what happens when weeds grow. They take over the whole garden. So I look at every single positive image, every single positive word, every single thing that I learn as a new seed that I'm planting in my mind. And so I learn all kind of businesses. That's why when I talk to people, they ask, what do you do? Well, hell, where do I start? I've got so many different businesses that I'm monetizing because I'm consistently planting seeds. But most importantly, as I'm planting seeds, I realize it's my responsibility to shine the light on the new and upcoming entrepreneurs. Because if we consistently understand the abundance mentality, which is the more that we have, the more we can serve. And people call me an entrepreneur. And yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm a servant first. So when I wake up in the morning, my attitude is, okay, whose life is going to be better because I'm awake? Who am I going to help today? How am I going to serve today? And what I've realized is the more that I serve, the more that I give, the more that life just opens up doors for me. And so I think that if we can kind of have that attitude of collaboration versus competition, competing is great, and that's a part of business. But when you really learn how to collaborate with people that speak like, think like, dream like, walk like you do, that's when your life starts to change. And there's no stopping you when you have that kind of circle.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you know, I've really gotten into understanding the subconscious mindset more. I've been reading a lot of books on it, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the law of attraction and things like that. And I wish I really believed and really went into that in my 20s, but I think I did at a point, but now I feel like I'm at another level of it. I mean, it's, you know, before I go to sleep, I'm envisioning where I want my life to be. When I wake up, the first thing I think about is where I want my life to be. And no matter what happens, it's like, it's okay. I rub it off, you know, we adjust to it, we pivot. And you just know that, you know, my goal is here. I know I'm going to reach my goal. I have no doubt in my mind where I'm going to be. There's a goal for my company. Every time I sign an artist, I just signed 2 new artists this week. There's a goal. I have to have a vision and a goal for those artists, right? Outside of, you know, just them, I listen to what they want and their goals. And my whole thing is also serving in a management situation, because when you're a music manager, I'm a therapist. I got a lie to cover up stuff half the time, to, you know, I'm a protector. Literally, I wear every hat that has to be worn to make sure my talent, you know, gets to the level that they want to get to, whatever that is. But being able to really, you know, manifest and really see yourself and where you want to be is super important, so that no matter what happens. And it's crazy because Rotimi is one of my artists. He was also on the show Power. He's in the new Coming to America Part 2 plug that's coming out as well. But we had a 30-city tour planned. I had him booked on 15 different festivals, and I had to cancel everything. You know, when we were, we did a big show in Ghana when it was the return last holiday season. You know, he had performed. It was his biggest show he'd ever done. It was 60,000 people that we had just done. And, you know, no one really took him seriously in the music world because his acting had got so big, but no one realized that he just started acting, but he'd been singing his whole life. And, you know, when we came around to this top of this year, like everyone, we all had plans and we all, you know, said it through. And it's crazy because I sat back 2 days ago when we were talking, and I said, as wild as this year has been, and this year even took a little turn for me. I lost a friend last night who died in a car wreck, and it still kind of was bothering me all morning. But as bad as this year has been, my goals are still being achieved. I had 2 goals for him, which was a new recording contract that we're about to sign, which is bigger, his biggest one he's ever signed, and a publishing deal, which is his first ever that he's ever had in his career. and we just pivoted. We pivoted. We put out an acoustic project in April that was not planned. We couldn't shoot our video. I hired 37 out of work creators, and we did a big animated video that we put out in April. And his single with Wale that's been out right now was doing very well on radio all over the country. And we literally had momentum going in a pandemic when I did a Sean John deal where he was modeling Sean John suits. He's on billboards all over the country and nobody can see him because they're not in their cars. And so, but it was just like, we just kept pushing. And these goals are still being achieved. And when I sat back and I was trying to look at what had been happening throughout the year, and I was like, I'm grateful that we're just here. And I really sat back and looked and I was like, oh man, we did do this. Oh, I did do this. I look back at what I wrote down, which is another thing that I never did until a few years ago, which is start to really write down where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So yeah, so no matter what happens, it's that pivot. And Pasha, I need your number because I'm gonna have to call you every morning. But it's literally that energy that you put and that you plant into your mindset for sure.
It really is. And you know what else? Go ahead.
Before you go, you mentioned that you were reading books and it helped develop your mindset. Do you mind sharing one or two books that have that you would recommend?
Yeah, one is called The Power of the Subconscious. I forgot who wrote that. I actually let a friend of mine borrow that, which she ain't brought it back yet. I got to check on that one. And then another one of my favorite books is called The Originals. And The Originals, I actually have it right over there because I forget the author. It's Malcolm Gladwell, I believe. No, it's not Malcolm. Adam Grant. Sorry, Adam Grant. Adam Grant's a professor at UPenn. And The Originals is about people taking a risk and taking a chance on doing what you want to do. So it talked about the guys who started Warby Parker, who when they were starting their company, people said that no one's going to buy glasses. How are you going to mail people glasses? And they're like, well, we'll mail them the frames. They like the frames, and then we can know what their prescription is, and we'll figure out what works for them. And it took them 3-4 years to have that model, but they made it, and now it's a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they talked about the guys who started YouTube, and those things. And it's about we come from a generation of parents and our parents before who the first job that they had to get, right? Because especially, being Black, and my father, he was from Jackson, Mississippi. So he graduated college. I listened my whole life of him saying that he wanted to be a lawyer and he wished he went to law school. Well, he took the first job offered so he could get out of Mississippi. And that first job was at Bell South, which is now AT&T. But that's not what he wanted to do. He just took a job and did it. But I always told myself that I'm not just going to take a job and just sit there. I don't want a job just to be in it. I want to be happy and really go for what I'm doing. Has the road been easy? Not at all. But, being consistent breeds success, I think. So, just staying consistent with it and being able to pivot. And another book is Who Moved My Cheese, which talks about pivoting. One
of my favorites.
It really talks about that. Yeah. And the 7 highly habits. I can talk all day, but sorry. But,
you're naming all my favorite books too.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe type some of them in the chat too, just so people have them that they can reference back to. Yeah. And before we get into the Q&A, I did want just each of you to kind of go around and just speak of, I'm glad you brought that up, William, about like what books Kenny has read to kind of help reinvent himself or help him on his path to success. If you guys could just kind of maybe talk about 3 things that you guys have put into your daily habit that have helped you continue to reinvent yourselves and, just position yourselves for success on your path or your career path. You guys can kind of just maybe, and I'll start with Pasha.
Well, I do something called 10 before 10, and I've been doing this for quite some time to make myself more effective. So every night before I go to bed, I write down the 10 most important things for me to do before 10 a.m. And what I do is we all have those things that we don't want to do, but we know we need to do. And what I used to find was at the end of the day, I still have stuff on my list and I go to bed all frustrated. So I said, you know what? I need to do the 10 most important things before 10 a.m. so I can enjoy the rest of my day. So I've programmed my mind and and discipline myself to, if that phone call that you need to make, but you might not want to make, get it done. That person that you need to follow up with, that email that you need to return, whatever those 10 most important things that drive revenue, I always do them before 10 a.m. So that's one of the things that I do in my day. The other thing is I allow myself to fail and I embrace mistakes. I tell my kids all the time, you're going to watch your mom fail every single day because I'm stretching, I'm growing, and I'm learning new things. I don't want you to look at me or look at yourself when you make a mistake as something bad. I think one of the biggest travesties in this country is the fact that school punishes kids for making mistakes. When in reality, in order for you to succeed in life, you have to be a walking, talking mistake. That's the only way you're going to have massive success. So for me, every single day I wake up, if I'm not messing something up, if I'm not failing, that means I'm not growing, that means I'm not stretching. So that's the other thing. I don't stress about mistakes. I embrace those mistakes. And the other thing is I make sure that I'm a person who lives in my head in the future. And this goes back to your question, William. When you talked about during these times, how does someone continue to move forward? Well, what I've learned is there are 3 types of people. There's the person that lives in the past, and they always start every conversation with, remember when? Hey, remember when we used to do this? Or remember when this? And then you have the person who lives in the present. They talk about what's happening right now in their lives. And then you have that small group of people that they live in the future. And they're thinking about 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. So when people say stuff to me like, Pasha, aren't you excited about where you are today? No, I was excited about where I am today 5 years ago. You wait until you see where I am in 5 years, because that's where I am. So for me, even though right now in 2020, yeah, it may suck for some people, and we know that we can't change. So I don't get wound up and frustrated over stuff that I have no control over, because I believe that frustration is self-inflicted. So if I can't change it, if I don't have the power to change it, I'm not going to let it change me. So for me, my mind is where I'm going to be in the next 5 years, all the different businesses and who I'm going to be doing it with, where we're going to be going, and, you know, all of those things. So I always say to myself, I'm always want to be that third person where I'm living 3 to 5 years in front of where I am consistently. So I would say those are the 3 things that I do every single day.
Okay.
And can I just jump in here a quick second, Mina, because I think it's important with what she said. She's a mother of 4, and she manages her daughter's modeling career. And so I think it's important to hear, because I know that, you know, some parents, and I know Andre and Kenny, you both have children as well. It's not easy to manage running a business or developing new businesses and still being the wife or being the mom, but you get it done.
Yes.
So bravo to that. Yeah.
So Andre, could you expand on that a little bit as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, the first thing I do is I thank God when I get up, because I'm so grateful and thankful. He's provided so many wonderful blessings for me. And my family, which I love, my wife and my son. And that's the number one thing I do. And as I have a 15-year-old son, and I encourage him every day, and I give him a hug, because as a Black man, I want to make sure that when I leave here, my son is able to function, and that he knows that he is loved, and he knows that he is all of that. And I just want to make sure that I instill that into him. And so those are the top 2 things that I do each and every day. And then third, you know, I am encouraged and inspired by life. And, you know, I'm a designer. So I love beautiful things. And I found that, and I said this, I have a love-hate relationship with COVID, because I think what it did is it set us down, and we really got to focus, you know. So I really get to focus on my to-do list, which I do every morning. And I had given so much of myself. I think that I was tired and I needed a break from, you know, I am a public servant, you know, I that's what I do. So I have been enjoying this, and I found out a lot about myself. And I've always been resilient, but you find out how resilient you really are. And also, you know, a lot of people don't know what they're supposed to do in life, but I do know one of my major things that I'm supposed to do, and I always try and do, is just that whole give back element. You know, I make sure that I am constantly giving back, because when we leave here, I'm not taking any of this stuff with me, but I do want to make sure that I have helped my community. So those are the three things that I do every day.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And
You're
Winnie,
welcome.
you know, we're going to have to go to Q&A in a little bit, but do you want to just jump in? I know you gave us your books that you read. Do you want to give us really quickly?
Yeah, I like Andre. I do, one of the first things I do is when I wake up and I practice gratitude a lot. So, you know, I thank God for, you know, where I am now, and I embrace whatever that struggle is or that stress. And also, you know, thank him for where I'm going or where I already see myself. Like I say thank you for the things that I'm going to have, but I don't necessarily have yet. I read another book that I put in the chat. It's called Make Your Bed by Admiral William McRaven. And, you know, I was in the Navy, so I'm a military guy as well. But he wrote this book after this commencement speech that he gave. And it talked about completing a task, like how Pasha has her 10 before 10. My very first task is making my bed. It's getting up, making my bed, even during COVID, taking a shower, brushing my teeth. You know, I'm not going anywhere. Sometimes I go to a gym if it's open, but it's just it gets me in a routine, and it gets me in that motion of, okay, now I'm completing a task. Because being on the West Coast, you know, I wake up to a lot of different emails and things on the East Coast, right? So just going in and tackling those.
Who done joined us?
Man, the Jamaican flag in the back. I love it because I'm Jamaican too.
Oh, big up, big up. It's Independence Day, girl. You get it.
Yes.
Oh my God, it has been, crazy, but that's okay, because here I am.
Are we okay to go over a little bit?
I think we can. I'm glad to have you. Kenny, did you want to just end what you were saying there?
I mean, after an entrance like that, I'm done. Please.
That's what you learn how to make an interest when you're a Broadway diva.
I love it.
Oh, we're so glad that you have you here. I'm sure join us. We told the people that you had a last minute work we did, but we also told them that Moesha is coming to Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. And I find it so hard to believe that 20 years since the show ended, that show went straight to the top 10 of Netflix all week long.
Wow.
All week long.
Beautiful.
Congratulations.
That is fantastic.
It really is. And I tell you, the fans, the viewers have been amazing. I feel like a very big star, the way they love me. It's been great. Okay, so let me tell you, there have been like these age differences, right? When they're really young, like they're young now, they're like, oh, Miss Ralph, I love you. I love you. If they're older, like 35, 40, and they saw the show, they're saying things like, oh God, I hated you when I was younger, but I love you now. I'm a stepmother myself, and I get it. I get it. So it's been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely amazing. So I'm loving it.
Good. Well, you just popped in at the right time because we were just talking about tips to the audience about what inspired them to keep them going. And you know, one thing I learned from you years ago, and actually, happy Jamaican Independence Day. Is that today, right?
That's today, baby. You see the flag behind me?
I see the flag.
There you go.
I'll start this out, and I'll let you finish it, and you tell us what it means. If you stay ready,
you don't have to get ready. And I don't care who the internet says started that, but Monique will tell you it was me and her standing outside of the stage. And one day she's turned around, she pulled up in her car, and she said, Miss Ralph, you are always ready. And I said, girl, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, because you never know when a camera's going to show up. We are up here on a set in Hollywood. Anybody could be anywhere. The cameras might be looking at us right now. And that was then when, of course, cameras aren't as prolific as they are now. I mean, you better be sure that somebody's watching you somewhere, sometime. There's a camera watching everything. And I know George Floyd is up in heaven is saying, thank you, God, for cameras being everywhere.
I know that's
Very true.
Yes.
You're right about that. And you know, another topic that has come up a couple of times with our forums that we've been doing, and this is the fourth one, it's been really, really good. And we call it storming the castle, sometimes creating your own opportunities. And I just want you to talk about what did you do and what gave you the confidence that you do to create, to make them notice you or have a meeting with you to create Etienne Toussaint of Designing Women.
Etienne Toussaint Bouvier. Yes. You know something? I've always been someone who was mentored, and I was mentored well. There was always somebody grown with good sense before me that was willing to pour into me. Now, this next person, I'm sure they wanted to pour into me, but anyway, they just gave me some good advice. His name was Robert De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
Robert De Niro and I are together doing a film called Mistress. And one day, we are sitting in a car in between shots. And this man looks at me and he's like, you're like really good. It's like, you're like a really great actress. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm trying to figure out, okay, where's this going? And he says, and that's too bad. I was like, oh, shit, what? Because Hollywood is not looking for the Black girl. So if you really want to make it in this industry, you better climb that mountain and wave that red flag and let them know that you're there, because they are not looking for you and you should be found. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that was so many different things all at once. But what did I get out of it? One, I'm a great actress. And two, wave that red flag, let them know that you're there. So I've waved the red flag. And at times, sometimes, you're waving the flag, letting people know that you're there, but sometimes it's not for you. Sometimes it's for somebody else. Sometimes the flag is for somebody else to be seen, because that's what a flag bearer does. The flag bearer is there to take the bullets, take the shots, and the next person will come behind them. Hopefully they're as brave to carry the flag again for, whoa, I'm talking and it's making me feel like, whew. Because the Emmys this year nominated a record number of Black performers, saying that they were seen, they were found. And I know what it was like not to be found. I know what it was like to plant that flag and say, we're here and we're ready. So, but that's my spirit.
I'm excited because the Emmys has also hired a Black man to produce the Emmys, Reginald Hudlin.
How about that?
Awesome.
Didn't they do the Oscars though? So they were in there.
He did the Oscars. Yeah, so he did. He has done that as well. He's done so much, which is, I admire him from afar.
There you go.
From afar. I really do. That's great. I'm sorry, you done changed the floor. but that's a good thing. That's a good thing too. Yeah, that's absolutely a great thing. So let me ask you this here, because I think that this kind of, you've had experience from your days on Broadway, where you originated the role of Dina Jones.
Which is important because everybody believes that Dreamgirls started with the movie. And so many people don't know that it was a big hit of a Broadway show, very much like Hamilton is today. It was that kind of a hit.
And it was through a very dark era for two reasons. One, I remember Broadway at that time, you had people doing drugs and no one on drugs on the street. No one wanted to go to Broadway, but they came to see Dreamgirls. But then shortly after that, it was another epidemic that hit, the AIDS and HIV epidemic. And I know you always talk about that you've lost a lot of your friends. So I wanted you to talk about your foundation that you still have today, and how did you get through those dark times?
You know something, it's interesting that you bring up what Broadway used to look like back in the 80s, because people cannot imagine how dirty, nasty, and awful it was. You know, there was some television series that was on for a minute, and it showed very much what Broadway and Times Square was like at that time. It was horrible. But yeah, we were on 45th Street, the Imperial Theater, where Ain't Too Proud to Beg, that's their home now when Broadway reopens after COVID. But when AIDS hit, it was horrible. It was nothing to be dancing with someone today. Tonight we'd have a show, we're dancing, I'm looking at you, and the next day that person's gone. It was like blowing candles off of a birthday cake. These great, strong, beautiful young lives gone. And people were horrible. People's response to them was horrible. People treated them like they were pariah. And I'm thinking about it now, and I get mad, because I'm like, wait a minute. These are our friends. These are our co-workers. They're going to the hospital, and you're going to tell me you're not going to go see them? You're not going to go check up on them? Oh, it was terrible. And then when you look for your friends, some of them would have these signs on them that says, don't touch. Oh, it was horrible. And I remember that it was like the little church girl in me. The little church girl in me was like, there, but for the grace of God, go I. And I can do better than this. And I was never taught who to hate. I was always taught who to love. So for me, it was a completely different response. But it was very difficult, because not being a gay woman, not being a white man, people, through that, I learned different levels of isms. You know, it's like people were always trying to find somebody to dislike. I'll never forget the gay white man who was sick, who looked at me and said, why are you doing this? Nobody cares. And then the person looked at me and said, it's not like you're Sharon Stone. I'm like, God damn. I was like, that is nothing but the devil. It is nothing but the devil. But for me, you know, I had always seen Black men pass away, Black men and Black women. I had seen it so much. So for me, in my head, it was never like a gay white man's disease, because I was seeing so many brothers die. I was seeing my next door neighbor, my childhood next door neighbor, she died. Sharon Red died. And there were other women. So for me, this was a Black thing. This was a Black people thing. And we were not getting the help. We were not getting the attention. And so I created Diva Simply Singing. And I said, everybody pay attention to a diva. Yeah. Yes. You know, we knock it down with our purse, baby. Hey. I said, let me put on some big hair and call up these other women. And that's just what I did.
Yes.
And you believe it's like 30 years ago? So this year, we will celebrate the 30th annual Diva Simply Singing virtually, and you are all invited. All of you are invited. Hey, on Sunday nights, this Sunday, you can go and watch us on Facebook Live, Diva Simply Singing on our Facebook Live. And I do Diva Simply Quarantine. Fabulous in isolation. And my guest at 7 p.m. is Jennifer Lewis, and we raise heaven and hell. Yes, we do.
And so, Sheryl, it sounds like you've talked about a few different ways in which you've like pivoted and transitioned over the course of your career. And some of the things that we talked about prior to you joining with our other panelists was, you know, some of the tools and some of the things that they implement into their lives to help them keep inspired and also help them keep reinventing themselves for success. Can you talk about some of those things really quickly about, you know, maybe give 3 ways in which you have or 3 things that you do daily that you've implemented into your life that help you keep
I look in the mirror. I love myself.
Yes.
I love me. I love me. I love me when I'm having difficult times. I remember that I love me. I love me when I'm having happy times. I remember that I love me. I love myself when I'm feeling ignored or overlooked. I remember that I'm wonderful. I also believe that there is something much greater than me. There's a much higher power than me that I swear to God, God must be a woman because too many perfect things happen. God must be a woman because why would we have an orange man in the White House who is such a horrible human being, but he's so horrible, he has yanked the covers off of everything that has been going on nasty underneath the skirt of America.
Mm.
If that orange man wasn't there, we would not be seeing the real fights that we need to fight.
Yes.
So okay, thank you. A woman did that. So thank you, great goddess in the sky. And I keep believing, I have hope, I have faith. I believe in the things that everybody else says is impossible. I know it's possible. I know it's possible because like Cinderella said, impossible things are happening every day. And why shouldn't possible things happen for me?
Right.
I look at my children, 2 of the greatest watermelons I ever pushed out of my body. I look at them and I know I've done at least 2 things very well. And I know I'm not the best housekeeper. I'm here in quarantine with my husband and he still loves me. So the way he looks at me, I know I'm doing something else right. Call the housekeeper, right.
And your husband being a politician, and you have your own voice as well. What would you encourage people to do in November 2nd, I believe?
Don't play with me.
I love it.
Love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Yes.
I need you to vote like your life depends on it.
Because
If we're going to have to wear masks, I need you to spread the message and not the disease. And if you want one, go to my Instagram and follow the link, baby, and order yours and spread the message. I need you to vote.
It's
Critical. It is so critical. I don't need you to just vote, but I need you to make sure you are registered to vote. I need you to double check on your mom and cousins and them and make sure that they are ready and correct to vote. I need you, if you're able, to arrange a way to get people to the polls. If you've got extra time on your hand or you know some old folks that are just going to sit around anyway, I need you to get them to the polls to man the polls. We don't have enough people to man the polls. I need you to get people to the registrar if they're going to vote by mail because that orange man is trying to F up the post office. We should not be standing for this mess. Get all your friends, tell them vote by mail, make sure they've got their absentee vote together now and get them to the registrar.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also interject just to say one other thing too? And that's to also make sure you've done your census to be counted because a lot of the voter suppression is happening in certain neighborhoods because they're not being counted. So therefore they're saying, oh, well, this is only the amount of people. So you're going to have one voting machine in your area when it's 100,000 people that live there.
Let me piggyback on what he just said. It seems as though from something, crazy machinations from the orange monster, they may be cutting back on the amount of time that you've got to fill out the census.
They have.
Meaning,
They're cutting it off in September. That's why I was saying that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, vote like your life depends on it. Yeah. Fill out the census. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I know we're running a little bit behind, which is fine because we had to make sure Miss Sheryl Leaf. Oh my gosh, we're so glad you were able to join us. I did want to take a couple questions from our Q&A because they're starting to pile in. Pasha, can you tell us what product or service that you took $500 and turned it into a multi-million-dollar business?
Well, back then it was, believe it or not, long distance. That was back, so it was a service back then. So I was in the long distance arena, but now I market health and wellness products.
Awesome.
I took my CMOS this morning.
All right.
Good.
Sea moss, Jamaican sea moss is the best.
Yes.
The best. And then I think Kenny, maybe you can answer this, or Andre. How do you feel about virtual events? And as a fabric solution company, I don't really see a lot of opportunity. This is someone that's a vendor. Maybe there's a green screen order here and there for a few drapes to mask off certain areas. For those of you that have AV equipment, it might make more sense. What's the panel's thoughts overall about virtual events? And I'm assuming monetizing those events.
So I'll be quick, Andre, I promise you. So in the music space right now, there are a lot of companies that are starting virtual shows. I had one of my artists, actually, we did one. There's a new company called FanPass. I've honestly seen about 10 of them that have popped up in the last month to month and a half. I'm still not sure about the maximizing the monetary value, because touring, there's merchandising, there's, meet and greets. Like I can sell VIP tickets or regular tickets and things like that, but I can do it in multiple cities. Then I can do after parties and such, right? So on one night, just using Rotimi, who's an R&B singer as an example, he gets about 10 to 15,000 per show. That's not including merch or an after party, but I can probably clear closer to 20 to 25,000 a night with him on a show. So with me doing one virtual show, I'm charging maybe $10 a ticket, just because, people have been going through a rough time. A lot of people aren't working, and I don't want to isolate his fan base. So we're trying to figure out, because a lot of sponsors haven't really jumped on these yet either, because you get a lot of money from that. Sponsors cover a lot of expenses for touring, which is how you end up getting, your overall getting into the black and not in the red. And so
Tell Rotimi I said hi.
Oh, I will. So I'm not really sure about him, Andre. I'm not sure about just the throwing the events in that space. Yeah. But just from a musical standpoint, I'm still kind of being patient, understanding where I'm going to pivot at some point. Pasha, I got your pivot down. But right now we're just kind of watching to see who's doing what and who's really going to be around for the long run with this. Because I don't know if we'll be able to do a real concert until maybe 2022, to be quite honest, the way it's looking.
Yeah, I think the virtual events, they're meeting us where we are now. So I think it's a Band-Aid, and it's something that we should all participate in. And I think we should take it a little further, and if we can, kind of do a hybrid, especially for events. I'm in a world where people want to touch, feel, hug, see the beauty, and a lot of times you can't with the virtual, so we're just doing what we need to do and meeting everyone where they are now. But I don't really see the longevity. And I also think that a lot of people, are getting a little tired. So I think you have to make your virtual event amazingly fun. And you have to have people like you, Ms. Rao, that just, you're fun and you're interesting, because you'll lose the attention of people and they fall off. So I think when you're thinking about a virtual event, you got to make sure it's different and it's engaging and all of those things. But I agree, Kenny, and on the financial piece of it all.
But I'm going to jump in on that too for just a second, Mina, because that person said that they're in fabrication. So that means they're dealing with material and fabric. Start creating napkins. Start creating and marketing placemats. Start creating masks. You don't have to just stay in the industry. You have to broaden your scope of thinking, which is basically what we're talking about, reinventing yourself. Because if you're in fabrics, the fabric market here in Los Angeles, and we have one of the largest ones, they're still in business and people are still creating things. Head wraps, throws and, you know, because this one here would take a piece of fabric and
Also, you can make.
I won't tell you what's behind here.
So yeah, but I mean, so that's, and I think that's one of the purposes of what we're talking about. For that question, and I saw it earlier, you have to think beyond the scope of where you're doing, seeing things that are not as though they are, and find opportunities for them.
Yeah, and also gifting is really big right now. You know,
Right.
I love to do a virtual event and send everyone a gift because at least you have their attention. You know, and you can do a beautiful pashmina and wrap. You can do a lot of things with your fabric when it comes to that.
You can
Oh,
create
I'll remember that for divas. Thank
Yeah, you can give that away as a favor.
A virtual swag bag. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good idea.
You can create a bag, and in the bag have napkins, placemats, everything that people need to do to entertain at home.
Come
Well,
on.
I'll tell you this too. As just speaking of monetizing digital events, that's the kind of space that I've been in for a while. And there's so many different ways to do it. And the first thing to understand is right now where we're going, everything starts with an app. So, and the app normalizes the process. So let me give you an example. It used to be strange getting in a car with a stranger. But now with an app called Uber or Lyft, everybody's jumping in these cars with strangers like we did in the past. And back, it used to be taboo to do that. And so now the app changed the game. The same thing with Uber Eats, having people that you've never met in your life drop food off to you. It was weird at first, but guess what? Now people are doing it. Even trying on clothes, you can do that with an app now. They scan your body. You're able to try on an outfit. Even real estate now. Real estate is being done virtually through apps. So now instead of going to tour a home, you're able to virtually tour the home and it almost feels as though you're there. In addition, I have some friends that have created, you know, where you're able to, the virtual reality now. So for concerts and things where you're able to almost feel like you're actually there because you have these things on and you can see the person next to you. There are even virtual things where you can go on campus and learn and you'll have your own little avatar where you actually are able to take your avatar, walk into a classroom, sit beside somebody and learn. So the whole world of virtual learning is going in a new direction. So for me, it's a matter of teaching people how to monetize that. So when I first started, I remember when I did my first course launch, and that's just teaching people certain things online. I made $18,000 in the first day, in one day of promoting that course launch, because I was teaching something that people wanted to learn. I have a friend who's in the hair industry. So prior to that, she was making hair and, you know, she had a physical office, well, not office, but a physical business. But she took that concept and she literally sold $900,000 worth of hair in 24 hours on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So why am I sharing that with you? It doesn't matter what you're doing. This is a digital world, and people now are starting to understand that that's the direction the world is going in. And I can take it to a whole nother level, even with digital currency, because that's a whole nother level of some of the stuff that we're doing. But every single day, you know, my husband and I, we will sit home and literally earn thousands of dollars every single day from this. From our phone. This is the single most powerful thing, in my opinion, that's been invented in the past decade for entrepreneurs who really understand that if you understand how to take your phone through apps or through digitizing whatever your career path is or your talent is, you can literally become wealthy just by understanding how to create a digital product, a digital course, an e-commerce store, and whatever your product is, be able to set up that store, send traffic to that store, and have people all around the world buying your product, and you're making money off of that. And it doesn't even cost a whole lot of upfront money to start it.
Wow.
Make sure you leave all your contact information.
That's right. That's a message.
Yeah, and Sheryl, the person says she wants to sew you a Jamaican flag mask. The one that has the fabric company. That's what they said they want to do.
Well, thank you. Tell them, take a good look at the flag and send it to you for me, because you'll make sure I get it.
And just to tag on to that, Pasha, which was absolutely incredible about the apps. But I know someone else that when COVID first started, they didn't create an app. all they did, they just picked up a book that they had wrote and just started reading chapters out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, hey, that's called content. Content is
How did that work out for you, Sheryl?
Content is king.
Like she said, it's called content.
Yeah.
What happened was the response was so great to my reading the book that people were asking, where's the Audible book? Well, there's an app called Audible, and we are now getting ready to launch the second edition of the Audible book, and it'll probably be available around mid-October. So the second edition book is coming. And as fate would have it, I own the rights. I own the audio rights to my book. So
Ownership.
thank you. Ownership is everything.
Ownership is everything.
If I knew what I know now, I would have never sold my rights to Dreamgirls for $1. I'd have never done it. Ownership is everything.
So I know we're at 4:30, and so we could go on forever because you guys are all amazing, and I'm learning a lot. Kenny?
Before you close, Sheryl Rotimi said, "Tell her she makes being an artist look easy. Bless her." I'm just passing that message, and sorry, Nina, but go ahead. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I want his new song to be on Diva Simply Singing virtually. Thank you. In December. I know that you will make sure it happens, won't you? Thank you in advance.
Yes. Done.
So just to go around, if each of you guys can kind of just, give some closing remarks to our audience, some takeaways, some tips, on all what we talked about reinventing yourself for success. I'll start with Andre.
Well, this has been wonderful. It's 7:30 out here in East Coast land, DC.
Yes.
But I just want to motivate everyone. Just, take this pause. Not many people have ever had a pause in life, and figure out who you are, who you want to be, where you want to go. Stay positive. Know that you can do it. Think about your skill set and pivot toward that.
Awesome. Kenny?
I would say just be consistent. Don't stop. Consistent strategies and consistent mindsets breed success. And love and believe in yourself. There'll be people that'll come into your life that'll just try to throw curveballs at you and get you to pull this way and that way. But if you truly believe in your vision of what you're doing, you need to see yourself already achieving what you're out to do. But you got to see it and believe it, and then, it's going to happen for you.
Pasha?
Well, I would say we have to support each other more than ever before. We have to shine the light on other people, other brothers and sisters out there more than ever before. I honestly feel like the opportunity for Black people in America, the time is now, because all the eyeballs are on us. There's so much money that's out there. There's so much opportunity out there. And I honestly feel that there's a renaissance that's taking place. And there are going to be two types of people, those who understand it and they're able to capitalize and profit off of that and help people walk through the door and understand the time that we're in and not shy away from that. And as Kenny just said, understanding that everybody's not going to be your fan. Everybody's not going to support you, but you cannot, you got to understand that people with no dreams, it's easy for them to try to kill yours because they don't have value in dreams. So you got to understand that when you have whatever that dream is, you connect that dream to a grind. Everybody has a dream, but everybody doesn't have a grind. So if every single day you can get up and work and understand that, like Sheryl talked about, ownership, understanding that ownership that you have, my thing is I would rather work and grind 24/7 for myself than slave 9 to 5 for somebody else. And that's the attitude that we have to have going beyond 2020, understanding the power of owning our own stuff. Because as long as somebody else owns our stuff, they're always pulling out the strings. They're always dangling the carrot in front of us. And when we start to understand the power of ownership, and most importantly, the power of supporting each other, doing business with each other. We've got to stop stuff like saying, if someone who, I've heard this and I don't want to ramble, but I got to put this out there. we've got to stop saying things like, if somebody that's Black messes up, well, I'm not doing business with them anymore. I'm not hiring another Black event planner. I'm not going to another Black dentist. You've never heard anybody white say that. They have never said, if somebody white messes up their teeth, I'm not going to another white dentist. We're the only people that I hear saying that. We've got to stop that. We've got to start supporting each other. We've got to start giving each other first chance, second chance, third chance, and fourth and fifth chance. And if we don't continue to support and love each other, then we're not going to grow. So I say, like we've all talked about, this is the beginning. I love bringing it all to the table, having that real conversation and opening up and learning. Find you a mentor, go after your dreams. Don't let anybody stop you, and don't think there's a shortage of money, because I'm telling you right now, in every downturn, right now, America is in the biggest place for the most opportunity. Capitalize on it and don't let this pass you.
Ooh. That was a whole sermon right there, baby. Everything she just said. Everything she just said. The thing about it is what she just said sounds like it's complicated, but it's so simple. It's complicated.
Yes.
Because you really, really have to know that you're worth it. You really have to know that you deserve it. You really have to know that you can do it. Those things, they sound simple, but they're complicated for people.
Yes.
I get up and look in the morning and I love me. I can't wait to love on me some more. People, there are some people out there that say, what's wrong with her? Why she love herself like that? In my mind, I can't figure out how not to love myself like that. Like the song says, sometimes you've got to encourage yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to speak victory
Yes, sir.
over the test.
Yes.
Because no matter what you're going through, oh, honey, please don't get me started. You just need to know that sometimes the help that you need is right at the end of your own arm. It is right there. That's the help that you need. And if I can do it, you better get yourself a mentor that's willing to extend and pull you up and take you with them. I like to stand in the sunshine because I want to make sure that I get a whole lot of friends to stand in the sunshine with me and feel how good it feels to be fabulous. So just put on your lipstick, put on your makeup, throw away your fears, and go for your dreams. But you got to have a dream to make a dream come true. Thank you.
So how did your mother tell you to put on your lipstick?
Oh my God, wait. I just happen to have some right here. Watch. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this was so amazing. Thank you guys so much for your time today. We've learned so much from you guys. I know that all of our guests, our attendees, you know, just from the chat, it's on fire. They're all, you know, really excited, and thank you guys for motivating them.
But,
as Sheryl has up, please go out and vote. William, did you want to?
Sure. Where can they buy those and your other masks, Diva?
Okay. If you want the vote mask that Bernice King wore at John Lewis's homegoing, please go to my Instagram and follow the link in my bio. All of the masks are on there. This one has the Afro head in it because the power of the Black female vote, let me tell you, she is the linchpin.